Good morning, everybody, and welcome to, again, new incoming EOP transfer students. Wonderful to have you. Wonderful to also have the campers who are joining EOP now in their second year. So it's wonderful to have you too, to our first official sort of program for you too as well. And it's not even the beginning of the year. I also want to welcome other EOP students and also the EOP staff, because it does take a village to do such a wonderful program for 3 days. So it really takes a lot of effort. So welcome EOP staff. And most of all, I also want to welcome the guests too as well, and our partners, because without them, Transfer Bridge is not possible. We really rely on them for their support. So welcome everybody. It is a little early for me, to tell you the truth, 9 o'clock. I'm still thinking, boy, we're on already. Next year we'll move it to 10 o'clock or something. I don't know. Okay, that coffee's got to kick in. Again, my name is Andres Favela. I'm the director of EOP. And really, I always want to give and start out any program with really some thank yous. The first one being to really Marilu, who's really been the lead to design this wonderful experience for students. And it takes a lot of coordination and foresight and vision to see what it is that we want to create for that experience that will be helpful for students. So again, big thank you for Marilu, who really does help bring this together and make this happen. And also for the strong support of the EOP staff that really also does help. And then in addition to that, our campus partners again, that play such a vital role to make sure to support the program and to really, at the end of the day, help out our students and make sure that they're successful. But most of all, I want to thank the students, because I can complain about being up early, but I'm supposed to be here. Students, you're at your own free will to come in and join us. So we really hope that you have a wonderful experience, but I do want to thank you for being here today and the following days too, because it really shows that you care, that you want to be involved. You're an active agent in making a difference and an impact in your own lives, and just taking that initiative to make sure to do your best to have a great college experience. And being here at Transfer Bridge is a great beginning to do that, okay? If we really think about things, we start to think about students in particular. Most of you are sophomores and juniors, and for that, it's wonderful. You should be excited. You still have a few more years to go, but you also have a lot of opportunities in those years to really get involved and experience. Those things lie ahead of you. You're inching closer and closer to your college degree. So you want to start to think about other things about what comes afterwards. And really the junior and sophomore year are the times when you start to think about questions about your future, okay? And those could be questions that are very intentional about setting career goals, employment goals, focusing on other skills that are non-academic based, having experiences that are going to be helpful for you after graduation, and really just having the stamina to really not only complete the coursework that you're here for, but it's everything else that you're doing outside that's will be helping you to prepare for the future. So again, that's why you're here. This is a time that you're investing. So I really want to thank you for that. And hopefully with Transfer Bridge, we can start to answer some of the questions you may be asking yourself about that. It could be perhaps, what are your goals beyond college, college degree? It could be like, how am I going to use this degree? What are the campus resources that might be helpful for me to be a successful student, or to prepare me for a job? What are my personal strengths? How can I use them to transition to a job, transition to a career? What is a career? Even defining that too as well. Most of all, really, the way I look at it is, the question that's really key for me is, how do I transform myself to become a person and a professional I want to be? Because that really speaks to your motivation why you're here. You want to complete a college degree. You're motivated to complete a college degree, but you are going to be a professional at the end of the day. How do you become that? And this is what about Transfer Bridge is really about. It's to really answer those questions that you're asking yourself as a sophomore, as a junior. And as first generation students, in reality, there is no roadmap. Nobody has really provided that guidance. You're kind of figuring that on yourself. But that's why EOP is here. That's why TransferBridge is here. And that's why all the folks and our partners are here for TransferBridge from the campus to really help you mold that plan, because there's a lot of information that you don't know. Let's bring that all together into TransferBridge as a sort of launching point into developing that plan that you need for post-graduation. And that's the stuff that nobody tells you about. So we hope to be those folks, the ones that say, did you think about this? Here's an option for this. Here's a resource for that. That's why we want to introduce you into those. The focus of TransferBridge, as Marilu mentioned, is to help you have a good transition into the university and what that really means, to help you start your employment readiness, because you're getting close to graduation. Time will fly very quickly. And then to help you also think about the future and consider graduate school, because we don't ask that question. It's right about now that it's sort of relatively new. Are you going to a master's degree? Are you going to a PhD degree? Are you going to a professional degree, medical, or so forth? This is the time where you start to envision what comes afterwards. TransferBridge is hopefully the catalyst to start to help you think about those things and link you up to those resources that we have on campus, and introduce you to folks who do care about your success, who want to meet with you, and bring them into TransferBridge so you're able to connect with them too as well. So those are really the goals, okay? Really, I hope and encourage you to really develop an intentional plan, because being here at the university isn't just a checkoff of classes and exams. It's about experiences. It's about those relationships that you're building with the campus that are going to be helpful for you after graduation. So become intentional, have a plan, know where you're headed. We'll bring those resources to you so you can craft that plan and engage in that process. If you don't have a plan, that's where sometimes folks may feel a little bit overwhelmed or discouraged. Why am I here? Where am I headed? Let's talk about that. Let's have those conversations. Let's connect with the resources. Let's have some of those experiences that might be helpful, okay? We're hoping that day one is our focus, as Marilu mentioned, is really starting your life at Cal State San Marcos, the things that you need to know. And day one is a little bit interactive, because we do have panels that are consisting day one. We have a faculty panel, we have a student panel, and we also are going to hear from some campus resources that perhaps you may have not heard about that can also be helpful for you too as well. Day two is just living your best at Cal State San Marcos. How do you take care of yourself? What are those things that are helpful for you to be successful and you should be practicing while you're here too as well? So it lets you focus and towards your degree while you're here, okay? And then really day three is preparing after Cal State San Marcos. So it's really bringing in folks from some of the programs that may be helpful. Day three is actually a great day because we also have President Neufeld joining us too as well. And we have other key guest speakers on day two and day three. I'm not going to tell you who they are, even though we've announced them. But we really do hope that your experience is very full, that you get a lot of good information. But I am going to ask you one thing. I mentioned you're an active agent in this plan. You really have to start to think about that. That starts today. And so when you start engaging today, we'll ask for engagement at the staff panel, at the faculty panel, and really ask questions that you may have. I mentioned a few questions, but I know you have more too as well. Those are only some examples. So, before I take any more time, that is my official sort of welcome. Thank you for being here. I know you're going to get a lot out of this if you just participate, ask questions, and really have an open mind and ears to listen. Who are these folks that could be very helpful and instrumental here to your success here at San Marcos? So with that, welcome. And Marilu, before I transition to our speakers, is there anything you want to add for that? I just tried to cover what comes to mind there.
I think you said it beautifully, Andres. Yes, just soak it all in, take as much as you can, and I hope you enjoy the ride for TransferBridge. I do want to mention, I forgot that we are doing an opportunity drawing. So I sent out that link in the chat. So please fill out that form when you get a chance. And then towards the end of our event, Wendy will be doing our little wheel and we'll pick our winners.
And we don't want to mention what they're winning yet, or what do you think? All right. And all I'll tell you is it's definitely worth your while, and there'll be multiple winners, and you should be excited about that. So stay tuned to the end. And the more you're engaged, the more likely you are to win. How's that? Anyways, okay. No, do ask questions. All right. With that, I do want to go ahead and transition to really, let's start to know what the campus has to offer students. What are some of the resources? And you guys already know what some of the common ones are too as well. But also being on campus, it means that you're also tapping into every possible resource. And we have a couple today that perhaps you may not realize is such an instrumental resource, and they can play a significant role, again, in contributing to your success. So today we have two departments that are going to be presenting in the next, few minutes. The first one is really the university library, because again, it's what does a library do? How can they help you? Those are key questions that you want to ask yourself. And with that today, we have a couple of folks, Tony Olivas, who's the engagement and inclusion librarian, and also Holly Hampton, who is the head of user services. And we're going to hear from them first, but afterwards, we'll also hear from the Psychology Academic Resources Library, known as PARL. And that's from Dr. Alex Hume, who's a faculty advisor and assistant professor. And these are great resources because these apply to most of you, maybe not all, but let's begin to identify who these folks are. What do they do? How can they help us? So we invited them to tell us about what they do and how they might be helpful to you students. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to Tony Olivas and Holly Hampton. We'll focus on the university library first. Afterwards, we'll shift over to PARL with Dr. Hume. So Tony and Holly, take it away. It's all yours. And thank you again for being here, especially early in the morning.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. And I'm a transfer student as well. I was a transfer student, so I kind of know what y'all were going through. So this is just a very brief overview of what the library has to offer. So yeah, if you can go to the next slide, please, Marilu. Okay, so the university library is located inside the Kellogg Library building, and that's at the center of campus. There are 5 floors of resources at your disposal, and I'll just briefly mention a couple of them here. On the second floor is where you'll find the media library, the computer lab, the student technology help desk, and you can also do printing there. On the third floor, that's the main entrance. You can get help with your library account or ask a librarian for research help. And really, the library has so many things, like thousands and thousands of books and ebooks and journals and articles, streaming videos, you name it. We pretty much have it all. Our services are online, but the library is working on a plan to safely allow you to physically use all of our resources and study spaces here once the semester starts. Is Holly here yet? Holly, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. Is everything working, I think?
Okay,
Okay.
briefly, could you introduce yourself? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so I'm Holly Hampton. I'm the head of user services, user experience librarian at CSUSM, so here at the University Library. And yeah, so I essentially lead the department that works with circulation, media, reserves, and stacks and study spaces and outreach as well. So that's what I do. So I can give a little bit of an overview. So Tony, remind me specifically what you wanted me to speak on.
If you could talk about when we're going to be opening the library, what it's going to look like to safely allow students to physically use our services here in person.
Yeah, so we are planning to open the library for the fall on August 29th. And the plan is that we will open in phases. So we will open on phase 1, and that will be just a limited set of hours, which will be Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday will be closed, and then Sunday will be open again on 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so that information is found on our website. If that does change, that will also be on our website because it is subject to change just based on what the campus needs us to do. And in terms of what we're going to do to ensure safety, we will basically follow like campus protocols. So if campus says, people have to help wear masks, we'll need people to wear masks. And we're working on a food and drink policy. Right now, our food and drink policy is like snacks only, covered beverages. If we need to change that in order to just make it a more safe space, like say if we just do beverages only, we'll do that and we'll update our website and our policies as well. We should be having like people wipe down things at the end of the day. And we'll also be wiping down items as they come back to us, specifically like any equipment or anything like that. And we'll do our best to keep our books clean and everything like that, but we can't really wipe them. And we ask that like they don't be wiped because of the pages and everything, they can be damaged. But whatever we can clean, we're cleaning. So yeah, and we'll have plenty of like hand sanitizer and wipes available. Our group study rooms are going to be available as well. They're available for individual study and group study this semester, just because of everything that's going on. So, that's also a plus. If you want to come use our group study rooms, you can use them as an individual for right now. Yeah, and we'll see about how phase 2 and phase 3 go, but phase 2 should be around midterms. We'll have phase 2 is just essentially like more hours.
Mhm.
So, but all of our services should be available in terms of like reserves and media and equipment, checkout, lockers.
Yeah, so make sure, thank you so much, Holly. Make sure to check the library's website. I put the website address there in the chat, biblio.csusm.edu. Check it for hours, check it for updated information, because of course, as this dumb pandemic changes, we change with it. So just please continue to check the website. But just know that whether or not, whether we're online or in the building, many of our services are available 24/7. So in addition to using our online journal databases, you can access your courses, your library reserves. And I highly recommend that you check with the library before you buy your textbooks, because we're currently working with your professors to help calm their courses. And CALM, C-A-L-M, stands for Cougars Affordable Learning Materials. And that's a program that helps us lower or even sometimes eliminate the cost of course materials that you have to pay for. So many times your professors will work with the library to have their course materials available to you for free using library reserves. Or sometimes the library can even purchase some of your textbooks for you to use. So please just check with the library first, see if we have your textbooks available, your course materials available, because, we don't have a bajillion dollars, but what we do have, we're able to buy some textbooks. So check with us first. We also have so many options for you to get the resources that you need for your classes, from library reserves, like I said, to interlibrary loan. And that means that you can request books from libraries all over the country. So if we don't own something, another library somewhere else in the country could potentially let us borrow it for you. You can also drop off or pick up library materials using our book lockers. And those are just outside the second floor entrance. And like I said, that's where the Student Technology Help Desk and the Media Library and all of that fun stuff, that's where that's located. It's this big giant blue box. And Holly, did I forget anything, or do you want to talk a little bit more about any of those things?
No, I think that's a really good overview. Yeah, for library reserves, if you're looking for your materials, that's a really good resource to start. And then you can always, just check in with us and say like, hey, I'm looking for this item. It's available for, I need it for my course. But yes, in conjunction with CALM, we are doing our best to look through the faculty list that they submit to the bookstore. And then we use that to figure out what we need to try to acquire for the reserves service, as well as just to help CALM courses. And that's essentially like, affordable learning. So just making sure that we can provide access to as many course materials as possible for zero total cost. So yeah, I think that's a really good overview. The book lockers is service that we started over the pandemic. Really cool. You can request items and have them pick up at the book locker, and it's available 24/7 because it's outside. And we say you get like a QR code or a code that you can enter as well. You can also download the app and just say, like, once you're close to the lockers, you can just push the button and it opens the locker that your item is in. So it's a really neat service if you want to try that out.
So basically what we're saying is, if you don't want to have any communication with a person here, we can help you with that by putting stuff in the lockers for you. But we really, really want you to come in and say hello to us and get to know who we are. And that said, I hope you all know, and if you don't know, now you're going to know, that every single major on this campus has its own librarian. And if you go to the library's website, you'll find out who your librarian is. And you're going to actually meet some of those librarians over the course of the next semester, because they'll be coming in, like I said, to give more in-depth workshops on these things that we're covering. But you can get help via chat, in person, by phone, and by email. And actually, a librarian is available to help you 24 hours a day via chat, 7 days a week. Now, outside of normal library hours, there will be librarians from all over the country who will be answering that chat. But they'll also be able to provide research help. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, via chat, we're here for you. Librarians are here for you. Marilu, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, we have a bunch of stuff, yes, but we also have a bunch of events and programs that we really hope you get involved in. One of the things that we do every single semester is the Context Library Exhibit Series. And this fall, we're going to be focusing on presenting the art of Ruth Westreich, and it's called Conversations of Consequence. Her art focuses on, the environmental issues and the political and environmental things behind all of those issues. And there will be an artist talk on October 7th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. That will be a virtual event. And then in spring, we'll be working with Dr. Tepikonik here at Cal State San Marcos. He is a faculty member in the American Indian Studies department, but he's also a famous artist. So we're going to be showcasing his work in spring. And I'll make sure to get that information to you, Marilu and Andres, so that folks can know when that is going to happen. But that will happen in spring. We also have the University Library Award for undergraduate research and creative activity. I want to encourage every single one of you in this room today to please check that out, because you do all of this research and all of these creative activities in your classes, right? Why not get paid for that? Why not get paid for it? This library award is available to all CSUSM undergraduates, so first years all the way through your senior year. It doesn't matter if you're a transfer student or if you've been here since you were a freshman, it's available to you. We select anywhere between 6 and 12 $600 prize winners. And at the end of the year, there's this big recognition ceremony where the president or the provost comes and, we just celebrate you and all of the fantastic work that you've done. So make sure to check that out. We do have the CSUSM Campus Common Read. As soon as more information comes out about that, I will let you know as well. But every year we select a different read, a different book for our campus to read together. And then we have different events for that as well. Put this on your calendars. Thursday, September 23rd, between 5 and 7 p.m. Enter a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. We're going to have a virtual open house, and you can register at bit.ly/fall 2021 open house. And it's basically what it says. It's an open house. Get to know who we are, what we do. more than just, my beautiful face and Holly's beautiful face, of course. And then our most popular event of the year is Pause for Pause. Normally we have the dogs here on campus during finals. But of course, with the pandemic this past year, we weren't able to, so we did it virtually. In the fall, we may invite them back to campus depending on, again, the pandemic. So yeah, that's that. Next slide, please. All right. So when you get a chance, just take a look at the links provided on this page and of course throughout the presentation that I've shared. I shared this presentation with Marilu, so hopefully she can send it out to you all. Marilu, will you be able to do that? Send it out to everybody?
Yes, I will be sending it out in the recap email.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So basically these 3 links are a good place for you to start. Our digital welcome guide has library information, of course, but also some games and other fun activities. And when you get a chance, if you haven't watched it already, watch the short library video that tells you the 10 things you need to know about your library. And I've told you most of those 10 things, but of course there are others that you should know about. Holly, did you want to say anything about this slide?
I think you've covered it really well. So
Okay.
yeah, check out our links. I do see a question about can we reserve study rooms? Yes, you can. They are still reservable, and we do still ask that you reserve them. So there are some that are available like to reserve 2 weeks in advance, and then there are a couple like a certain floor that they're available to reserve 24 hours in advance. So yes, definitely still reserve the study rooms.
Holly, could you put the link to reserved study rooms in the chat right now, please?
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
You. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next slide, Marilu. Thank you so very much. Okay, so this basically wraps up everything. Hopefully you were able to hear me better. If you want to know more about your library, I should say, if you want to know more about your library, make sure to connect with us via our social media. So, we're available, Instagram, Facebook, all of the different platforms, whoosh, excuse me. Or of course, you're free to sign up for our library email list. And I'm going to put that link in the chat right here. So then that way you don't miss any news that comes your way. And you'll be able to hear about any events that we have. What I want to wrap up this presentation with is, even if you don't remember anything that I said, the thing that I hope you take away is that we're here for you. Both Holly and I are here for you. Our contact information is here. Like I said, we both are we're transfer students. So even though you do have a librarian dedicated to your major, you're welcome to come to us too, right? So, or if you don't like that librarian for whatever reason, I'm kidding. You're gonna love all of our librarians. But no, we're here for you. So just remember Tony Olivas, Holly Hampton, and it has been a pleasure to be here. And I just want to thank you again, Andres. Thank you again, Marilu, for inviting us. Holly, did you want to say anything else?
Yes, ditto to everything that you have just said. Thank you for having us here. I hope that you have learned quite a bit about the library. And if you forget it all, you can always contact us or just, pop in and say hello. We are technically open right now. Our doors are open. So if you want to drop in and use some study rooms now, we're here. And yes, like Tony said, I have transferred. I want to say like 4 times in my life I have transferred. So I understand.
Yeah, but did it take you 8 years to get through your undergrad? Like it took me? I had no idea what the hell I was doing. No idea.
Oh, no.
Y'all are lucky to have EOP. Just let me tell you that right now. You're lucky.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Right.
Tony,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Holly, thank you. I'm going to ask you to hang on because we do want to hear from Carl, and then I do want to open it up for some questions from the students if they have any concerning the library. And really, thank you again for presenting to the students. And students, I'm hoping that you can see like the library is really one example of just one resource. and how open they can be about the services that they have, the events that they sponsor. It's really learning to know what everybody does at not only the library, but every unit on campus too as well. And that's what we're trying to unpack, is what services are there? How can I be involved, and what information might be helpful that could impact you, that could impact your growth and make it a positive experience too as well. So it's really a great example where we want to demystify what the library is and break it down into very useful parts. So again, thank you, Tony, and thank you, Holly. And I think that's a good segue, because we're going to stay with the library theme, because our next speaker is Dr. Alex Hune, who is the Psychology Academic Resource Library, which was a little bit foreign to me, to tell you the truth. It's kind of like, what is this and how can this help out students? So we wanted to invite Dr. Hune to at least unpack a little bit of that too as well. So I want to welcome Dr. Hune, again, the faculty advisor and assistant professor who's in charge of PARL. Dr. Hune, it's all yours.
As mentioned, my name is Dr. Alex Wynn. I'm a professor at psychology department at CSUSM. I'm also a first-gen college student. I grew up in California. My parents immigrated here, and then I was born here. But then I've been in Canada for the past 10 years doing my graduate studies, so I consider myself kind of Canadian too, even though I'm not really technically. And then I came back this past year, and I'm excited to be here at Cal State San Marcos. And I can say from my experience that, you know, it's such a wonderful place. There's so many great people, and I'm excited for you to be here and to meet everyone. And please don't hesitate to, you know, when they invite you to come talk to them about, you know, everything, like don't feel like, you know, that's just a courtesy. Like, people are actually here are very, very nice. I teach social and cultural psychology. If there are psych majors here and you end up in one of my classes, please do come say hi. One of the great things about CSUSM is that there are many resources for you to do well. So I'm currently the faculty advisor for PARL, which stands for the Psychology Academic Resource Lab. The purpose of PARL, as you can see here, is to provide academic support for things like quantitative analyses, writing, research methodology. And despite its name, it's not actually just a resource for students in psychology, although we do primarily serve psychology students. We're actually here to assist you with any of your course assignments, even if you're not in a psychology course, so long as they're kind of related to things like the quantitative, writing, biological, and research methodology classes, types of assignments that you might encounter in your courses. So in a lot of like social science courses, you might encounter things like that. If you're taking psychology courses, we should be able to assist you with any of your course assignments. If you feel like you're struggling with some concepts, you're confused and you don't understand, and you just kind of want to talk to somebody about, you know, the different assignments that your professors are assigning you, that's what PARL is here for. But also feel free to stop by if you're in other classes and you think that we might be able to help. So PARL is currently staffed by psychology graduate students, and all of these graduate students in our lab are well-versed in things like statistics, SPSS, if you're doing research and data analyses, research methods, and APA writing. We're not actually technically a tutoring service, so sometimes students come and think that, you know, they're going to get some tutoring. Our staff can't like provide one-on-one help for, you know, hours on end, but we are a support service. So if you're working on course assignments and you don't know where to start, or your professor kind of assigned things to you, like things like literature reviews, and you don't really know what that means, or where you should go or where to start, like PARL is a great place for you to go and ask questions. If you do come to PARL, we ask you to please bring your course assignments and instructions and any materials, such as your course syllabus and textbooks, so that the staff can help you. Okay. So in fall term, we're doing hybrid hours throughout the week. So we have both online drop-in hours and in-person drop-in hours. I don't expect you to actually have these links available, although I will email Mary Lou these slides if you want to send them out. But they're also posted online. And if you Google CSUSM Parl, Google will tell you that you're looking for parking. But that's just because they don't understand what Parl is. It's Parl with a K. It'll send you to the psychology link, and you'll find these links are posted and their hours are posted. The hours in person are hosted in SBSB 1206. So it's on the first floor in the social and behavioral science building, way on the end of campus by the big parking structure if you've been on campus. We're on the first floor. It's a small little classroom, lab room setting. There'll be a part of staff member there during these hours, ready to assist you. So just kind of look for them when you come in. It's mostly what I wanted to say, I guess. Please don't hesitate to take advantage of this resource. We're excited when people come in with questions, and I know the staff are ready to help.
All right.
Yeah, and we do eventually plan on hosting like a workshop for APA writing and things like that, and I'll be able to get that information out to Andres and Mary Lou and send that out to you if you want to take advantage of that. So thank you for hearing me out. If you have any questions, I'm sure the library and I will be able to help out as best as we can. So
all right, thank you. And before I do open it up for questions, I do want to mention to the students that, you are at sophomore and junior level, most of you. So technically, some of you may be taking the statistics courses or the research methods courses and some of them in your schedule, or perhaps you just recently completed them and now you're being introduced to SPSS or perhaps some more literature review that we do a lot here with some of the social science majors. So really, this is a great opportunity and support to get assistance on some of those things, and just know that there's a campus resources that help you with that. And we thought not only the library, but Parl is also a great resource for you too as well. Again, most of you are taking or getting involved in the courses or the analysis or the research for your appropriate majors. So this is a wonderful resource to keep in mind as the year starts. So again, thank you, Dr. Hume, for also being here, and librarians. And I think at this point, Marilu, is it question Q&A? I think, do we have any questions to either university library folks or Dr. Hume from the students? And again, feel free to ask. This is part of the engagement process too as well. Any questions from students? And I think Marilu will have them put their hand up or, virtual hand.
Yeah, go ahead and just raise your hand if you'd like, or if you want to send the questions via the chat, whatever's easiest for you. If you want to open up your mic, that works as well.
I think there's one for the library. Can we reserve study rooms for just one person?
Yes, so you can reserve study rooms for one person at the moment. That is temporary. It's usually, it's still called group study rooms, like on our website and everything. But for right now, we are allowing individuals to use the room, just one person at a time. Just because of like social distancing and everything, you can still use it as a group, but we are also allowing individual use.
Thank you. Other questions from students? All right, Amy, going, I think at this point, we're right in time. Students, if you have questions, feel free. This is a safe place. A lot of folks do care and want to impart that information, and keep that in mind as we go through the next few days too as well. Feel free to ask any questions at any point, whether it's to use the chat room or the mic, whatever it may be. But I'm not seeing any other questions. So are there?
I was going to say, I actually have a question, but I just saw another question pop up. Are there any hiring opportunities at the library? Great question. Holly, I'll let you speak more to this, but I know not this semester, but next semester in my department, we'll be looking for student employees. Library is always looking for student employees. So just, Holly, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, so I believe I have a couple of employees who are hiring for their units, and they may have already taken applications at this point, but you can check Handshake, I believe is where they're all going up. So there usually are kind of like at the beginning, like right before the semester. Then you may see a few opportunities there. So you might see some now. And we're usually hiring like at the beginning of the semester. So definitely next semester, there should be more as we, need, like we open up more and more, we'll need more students. So yes.
Thank you.
Emily, make sure to write down my contact information and email me when, just email me and check to see when I'm going to open my position up. Okay. Oh, thank you for putting that in the chat, Marilu. I have a question for Alex. Can faculty use? Because I hate SPSS. So
Can faculty come to Pearl? Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not.
okay, you heard him say that. I'll be there almost every day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Just a quick note on the Handshake for all you students who are looking for job opportunities. I'm hoping that you already did go to the Career Center and you did set up an account with Handshake. That is the place where you will get information about all the positions on campus, whether it's the library, whether it's EOP, whether it's advising, whoever is hiring on campus. That's a good place to go to if you're looking for on-campus jobs. So definitely, if you don't have that Handshake account, go ahead and set it up as soon as possible and start checking and keep checking for these opportunities to arise too as well. So definitely it's a pitch to use Handshake as one of the main tools for employment searches for yourself. Okay. Any other questions from anybody, even staff? Right. Okay, with that said, I think, Marilu, I'm going to stop it here. And again, I do want to thank Tony, Holly, Alex. Thank you for coming. Thank you for letting us know what services you provide. I'm hoping that some of our students, that you get to see them in the near future, or at least hear from them. So definitely thank you for being here and providing the information for the resources that you have available for students. So thank you very much. With that said, Marilu, I'm not sure what's next. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, Alex, Holly, and Tony.
Yeah, and maybe Tony, if you want to respond to that student who had the question that came through towards the end, I think there's a follow-up to your question. So at this point, do you want to respond to
that? I'm so sorry. Which one?
Oh, sorry. Does it show how long it lasts, whether for one semester or a year, for when you apply for any job on campus?
Is this for Handshake, you mean?
Casilla, do you mind?
Yeah, for Handshake. Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure how Handshake works. Andres, do you know how that works? Is it for the semester? Is it for the year? How does it work?
Yeah, I think, well, that we're gonna have to find out. I think we'll kick the ball to maybe possibly Wendy, but my belief is you actually post positions and students are able to see it and apply for them. And then eventually the departments take down the positions once they're filled. So it's a good way to look at it as they pop up, they get filled, and then they get taken away. The thing is, positions will continue to pop up. There's usually peak periods too as well. That's why I encourage students to always continue looking at the job positions. But typically they pop up until they're filled, and then they go ahead and take them down. Is that accurate, Wendy? Is that sort of your understanding?
Yeah, and just to throw it out there as well, whoever, like for example, us, we posted our student assistant position on there. We indicate on there whether it's a semester, whether it's for a year, for how long we would need the student, employed for here at our department. So it should tell you. It could be that maybe some departments opt to put that in there, so you may or may not see it. But those are just the little details that you want to look at when you are applying on Handshake. How long is the employment for, the pay, the description, all of that. But it should be included on there. But again, you may or may not see it depending on the department if they decided to put it on the application or not. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Wendy. And Wendy's our student support specialist at the front desk. So you will be seeing her if you come in for appointments or if you have questions, or she may be picking up the phone if you're calling in. Thank you, Wendy.
We have our panelists here. So I'm going to briefly have them introduce themselves. We have a total of 4 panelists that are volunteering their time to be here and answer your questions. So let's go ahead and start with Haley. Haley, go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then I'll go ahead and then ask the group numbers to ask their questions as we move along. So just brief introduction, your name, what grade you're in, and then and let's keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the panel. My name is Haley Stevenson. I was in EOP from 2019 to 2021. I did just graduate in spring. I was a psychological science major. I graduated with my BA. EOP was super helpful because I was a transfer student from Palomar College, and it helped me on my path to graduation. And now I'm just taking a year off preparing for grad school. So I'm really happy to be here and to meet everybody and hopefully answer some questions if I can. So thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you, Haley. How about we go with Elizabeth?
Hello, EOP transfer students. My name is Elizabeth Wright, and I am a graduate student in sociological practice. I was with EOP from 2017 to through 2019. It was a wonderful experience that I had with EOP, and I'm very happy to be here with you all.
Next, let's go ahead and go with Ms. Xochitl.
Hi, I'm Xochitl Barrera. I was a transfer student from MSJC. I was there from 2017 to last year, 2020. I majored in Spanish and minored in psychology.
Okay, last but not least is Miss Vanessa, and I think she's a current student. She hasn't just yet graduated. Go ahead, Miss Vanessa.
Yes, hi, my name's Vanessa. I am double majoring political science and criminology. I've been here for a little bit while, so I've been here for 5-6 years. So if you guys have any questions about that, and that's totally okay. So also I did study abroad. So if you have any questions on that, I do have 2 jobs here on campus. If you have any questions on that, if you have questions on like internships, things like that, trying to hit every kind of, idea right there. But if you have any questions at all, we're here to help you, and it's a safe space. So no question is a bad question.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you for reminding us that this is a safe space to go ahead and ask the questions that they might have as they transition into Cal State San Marcos. And I know we have some campers here, so also it's, if you have any questions for upperclassmates, this is your time to also kind of ask those questions. And then once we move on to the faculty, it's the time to ask those questions to faculty. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and call out the rooms. They're not going to be in a particular order. I'm just going to go random. I'm going to roll my dice and see which group comes next. You should have worked out in your breakout sessions to ask 2 questions, right, Marilu? Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, you can. The group can ask 1 question as you go through all the groups, and then you can bring it back if you'd like. That way, everybody has an equal opportunity.
Okay, perfect. So since it's August 17th, let's go ahead and start with number 7. So group number 7, go ahead, and your lead person, go ahead and ask your question to the panelists.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. Okay, so I had a question debating on like the parking situation. So the parking permit, they're expensive just in general. But we were just asking, like, for me, for example, I go 2 times a week from like 3 to 4:50. It's like, is it cheaper to just go by, like, just do it for like 2 hours and drive there for 2 hours, or take the trolley? Like, we had the question just in general in our whole group. So which one, like, do you recommend? Taking the trolley just in general, paying like the parking permit?
Thank you, Jasmine. Excellent question regarding parking and public transportation. I don't know if any of our panelists did both or would like to jump in and answer this question.
can say just a little bit on it. Personally, I think it's kind of, for me, I commute, right? And I would stay usually the whole day if I had my classes, just because I like to study at the library. You know, I like to have that, you know, space where, you know, this is work, or like, you know, school, you know, this is something I need to focus on. Because once I get home, I have my dogs, I have, you know, chores, or, you know, things like that. So it's kind of up to you to kind of really gauge on like the student that you are. If you are confidently studying at home, then it's up to you. But if you need a more focused space, then I would encourage that you stay on campus. But then again, it's totally up to you with that. And then I hope that helps.
Perfect. So Jill, go ahead.
I also commuted. I think if you're worried about the price, at my last semester I went with the furthest parking area, so I got my walking in. But I agree. When I was able to, I work and went to school. So when I was at school all day. So I took advantage of all the learning center places, the library, anywhere I could study and make a day of it, because I focused more there than I would at my own home. So it's a personal choice.
Perfect. Good advice there, right? As Vanessa and Xochitl said, maybe keep in mind those study hours to stay on campus rather than going home, and better, maybe that full day will be better for you. I did post the website to parking services where you can see the different rates, and depending on the parking, like Xochitl's mentioned, she parked in the farthest parking because that tends to be a little bit cheaper because you have a longer walk and whatnot. But we sometimes need that exercise, right? What did it say, 30 days a day? So definitely that could be cheaper. And then Marilu also posted the Compass card, and I believe that is for the public transportation. And I love it that you guys are posting if you want any train buddies. That will be awesome. So make sure you keep those names handy dandy as you are continuing with your networking. Elizabeth, go ahead and open up your mic.
Yes, so touching back again on that, I believe that it's very important, just basing on the flexibility of your schedule. Coming from, you know, my own personal experience, I prefer to always kind of be as connected and staying on campus as possible, just because you're not just someone that's there invisible that just kind of shows up to class and then goes home, and you know, that like the disconnection basically. But being there on campus, taking advantages of all the support that we have there on campuses, different programs, and just connecting with the university itself is a huge support system. Just being there, just by seeing you there on campus, it's a great, you know, step. And so I would encourage you to try to stay on campus as much as possible. And taking, you know, as the librarian mentioned, they do have those study rooms where you can go there and study, and just using all the resources. And that's pretty much where I found a lot of the success for me, is just stay as much as you can on campus and get all the help you need on campus. Once you got everything you need, your questions answered, questions with your homework, seeing your faculty, your professors, and once you got everything all together and you say, okay, I got this now, I got all my questions answered, I'm going to either go to the library now, take advantage of that now that it's all still fresh in my memory, and work on that project. Okay, it's getting late. Okay, it's time to go home. But at least you were on campus, and that was more my personal experience. But again, I understand that we all have different schedules, but just kind of giving that piece of advice to you all.
Excellent advice, Elizabeth, right? The more you engage, the more you feel connected to campus. Haley, I saw you opening up your mic. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with basically everything that's been said regarding the parking versus train situation. I personally took the Sprinter, so I feel like from what I've heard, I understand that's like a lot less money, but it also might obviously not be as convenient for some people depending on schedules. So you got to kind of figure out what's best for you. But I second what everyone said. When I was physically on campus, I would spend a lot of time in the library. It would be so much more helpful than for me. I live with other people. So, you know, it's just having a space that's like quiet, and for you, it really does help with studying, I find. And also just building community on campus. There's usually like something going on. I know with the past year, it's been a little odd, but normally in person, the campus has an excellent community and something's always going on. So honestly, like what has been said already, like I encourage you stay on campus if you can and build a community and a network, because that's what's going to help you succeed.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for answering that question. Next question, let's go ahead and go with group number 1. So room 1, who's going to go ahead and ask one of your 2 questions?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Monique, and the questions that my group had were, what time should we arrive before classes, as well as to find parking? And the second question is, when and how early should we purchase our books?
Excellent question. So let's start with Vanessa.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, the first week of classes, I would try to get here, maybe 30 to an hour before, just so you have to find parking, or if not, then I would get here, like 15, 20 minutes before class starts, just so you can either pick what seat you like and even get to know the professor. And I think that's super, super important, trying to build a relationship with your professor, because, they'll have, resources, they can write you a letter of rec, things like that. So depending if you're commuting, try to get here earlier. And if you're, commuting a different way, I would say like 15, 20 minutes. And your second question, can you repeat it one more time?
Books.
Oh, and purchasing the books, right? So sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, when you would purchase them. I would try to purchase them, maybe before class starts, just because I've had a lot of professors who assign, papers, things like that the day of the first class. So, you really have to gauge that. You can even email the professor to get that syllabus a little bit earlier, and a lot of the times they do email that already. But I would try to do it, the first, if not before, then the first day of classes, just because the professor, usually the first day or week is like syllabus week, they say. So the professor goes through the whole syllabus, tells you what's required, what they expect of you, things like that. So you'll be able to gauge that, when you should purchase it. But I would suggest earlier the better, just because, you can read it on your own and try to read that different kind of language, whatever the course requires of you, because with college, it's learning like a different language, they say. You have to learn, the different terminology and things like that. So for me, I would purchase them as soon as possible, right when it's on your book list on your My CSUSM. I would start looking, honestly. So you can see your list all through there. You can rent it, buy it, things like that.
Thank you, Vanessa. Any other of the panelists have something else to add? Okay, Ms. Sochi.
In regards to parking, I would say in the first couple of weeks to the first month, my experience, if you're parking, it's been get there an hour early. Parking is horrible. Everyone who wants to go to school is going to be there. So you'll spend time around the whole parking lot. And remember where your parking space is at. Because I'm sure we have all done it, where you go back because you're running around and then you're like hoping you can hear your alarm. So yeah, a good hour before, because campus gets really, really packed. All the parking lots are getting packed. So yeah, definitely. And regarding your books, I would email, like Vanessa said, just because every professor is completely different. We've had professors that they expect your books that first day and you should have already read it. And then you'll go to professors where like, oh, no, it's okay. I'm uploading the pages of whatever I have personally invested and you don't have to buy a book. So I would totally email your professor and find out which way they're going. And that way you can save on cost, because there have been students who've came in with purchased books or if they're not new then and unwrapped, then you can't return them. And so I would go that way, email your professor and find out what they're doing.
Perfect, great advice. So Chilin, I did see somebody reminding us, Jasmine, check the library first for your textbooks before you buy, like they said earlier on today. I think it was Tony that mentioned that, so definitely do that. Yes, Miss Elizabeth.
And touching a little bit on those textbooks and how Ms. Xochitl mentioned about reaching out to your professors first, emailing them just to be double sure about those textbooks before you go ahead and purchase. Once you get that, the green light from the professor that yes, that is the textbook that I'll be using for the course, what I would normally do is I would either go on Amazon or see if they have them where you can get them as the cheapest, the better. And if you have that time frame, as soon as you find out, I would normally start like as soon as so I keep checking the CSUSM once the syllabus is in, or if you haven't heard from the professor, just double checking with them. I'm enrolled in your class. I just want to know what's the textbook that we're going to be using. Next thing, once you know, the next thing I would do is if I wouldn't have it, find it on Amazon or another way, then I would go to the library. But at least you have those options to the bookstore. I'm sorry. And if once I go there, they have those used books. So you want to be one of those first people to be able to purchase one of those used books, because sometimes you get there and other students already purchase those used books, and then you don't have no other choice but to purchase the new books, which are more expensive. So the sooner the better, just because if we're trying to save money here, is do it as soon as possible. Reach out to the professor, connect with them, find out, be informed. That way you know exactly what's being expected from you on the first day of class. And yes, parking is crazy especially the first 2 weeks. So I would normally, yes, especially if you're new on campus, arrive about an hour early, or even if you can a little bit before that, so you can find parking, you're not stressed. And if you're one of those people like me, what I did, that I parked on the XYZ dirt lot back there. It's one of the furthest lot back there. So then you have to walk all the way to campus, and then you need to find out where your classroom is. So you don't want to be doing that in those 15 minutes. So I arrived on time, an hour, give yourself about those 2 hours just to be sure. And then, that way you can have an enjoyable day, at least on your first day of class.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, that first week it's horrible coming in and going out with traffic as well. Not only parking, but traffic on campus on its own. Perfect. Haley, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I agree. Just during the first week or month, even it's just really hectic. So I would agree an hour before. I mean, rather more than less, right? And especially, at least for me, when I was first on campus, in comparison to community college, just so many different sets of stairs and different ways to get on different floors. And sometimes I'd be confused, wait, is my class in this side of the building or that side of the building? So I don't know if that's just me, but I would recommend just give yourself time to find your classes, and maybe later on, after everything calms down, it could be closer to 20 or 15 minutes before. But that's what I would say for that. And regarding the books, this has already been said, but check the library first, because some professors will be super nice and have it on loan. But if not, definitely I recommend getting your books used if possible, and doing it as soon as possible, because in my experience, at least with my professors, they'll often have assignments the first week, and they'll expect you to have read something, even if it's not super crazy the first week. They'll expect at least you have the book. So not every professor's like that, but that's what I would recommend, just to be on the safe side. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies. Can I share my screen really quick, Marilu? Yes, I have share screen. So here, if you go to my CSUSM, if you look on your student center, you're gonna have my book list right here. So that's where you can check ahead of time some of your book lists. But like they said, check with the professors, because sometimes those lists are not accurate. Perfect. And I see some students sharing some super cheap books websites. Make sure you take copy paste, because after today we're not going to have the link until we share the recording for today. So make sure you go ahead and copy paste that link. Okay, next one, let's go ahead and go with group number 2.
Brenda, you have a question in the chat.
How do you access your professor's email? That one, you can go ahead and go to your schedule, and then it'll have the professor, and usually the emails are hyperlinked, or you can go to the main search box in the CSUSM homepage, type in the professor's name, and then the email will usually appear there. definitely that's how it's usually the first name, the last name at csusm.edu, but you can definitely do that couple different ways. You're very welcome, Anna. Okay, group number 2. Who was in group number 2? Who's gonna be my open mic for group number 2?
I think that was group number 2. Anna
Oh,
was part
okay,
of
Anna,
group
you
number 2.
typed in your question, yes. Okay, so I think that question was answered by me. I apologize on that. So group number 2, did you have any other question?
Another question I had was, will there be internet access all throughout the campus or only like in the library or certain areas?
I think that's more like an Andres question, since some of our students are still also waiting some news on that. So Andres, I'll leave it open for you.
Yeah, it could be answered in 2 ways. One, if you have your own devices, there's that campus sort of internet net that you're able to access and get into with your own devices. And also there will be, the campus still is going to offer quite a lot of computer labs and so forth. In case you don't have that equipment, you can access computer labs, and those are in, those have the internet services tied to them. So it shouldn't be an issue whether it's your own equipment or whether you need a lab. We provide that kind of support too as well. And in some cases, we also provide the equipment as well. If you do need some equipment, we contact your counselor. We can send out a link. I believe the ISO link are still available. So again, that's a little bit more than internet, but we have the technology and we have the internet available for students, and we use that as part of the curriculum and educational process. So you got to have the equipment and you got to have the access. If you need some help with either one of those, reach out and let's make sure you have the equipment so you're able to do that, including hotspots too as well. I'll have to recheck, but I believe we're still giving out hotspots in case you're doing that from home. So again, we really want to help the students be successful online, and we really do provide a lot of the support and technology for that. Just reach out and we'll get it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andres. Excellent information. And I think I'm posting the information here for tech support. Wendy, do you mind posting that while I move on to my group questions? So the tech supported equipment request, can you post that link for us? Thank you, Wendy. Okay, next group, let's go ahead and go with group number 9. Open up your mic, the lead person for that group. Thank you, Haley. Yes, that's it. Group 9.
Hi, I think we were group 9.
Okay, Ms. Rosa, go ahead and go.
Okay. So we were wondering about what's the lifestyle for on-campus living, and how different is undergraduate school from graduate school?
Excellent question. Did any of the panelists live on campus? No, I think we're gonna have to get back with you on that question, just because none of our panelists can answer that one on living on campus. If you have any questions regarding that, you might contact your assigned counselor to provide you with additional information and support to our housing department. And the second question was, can you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, the difference between graduate school and undergraduate.
Perfect. And I think that will go more with Elizabeth. I'm not sure if Ms. Sochi listened in graduate, and I know Haley shared she was not graduate school. Are you in graduate school? No, Haley. Okay.
I hope to be, and I know some people that are, but not. I don't have.
You're not quite there yet. So I think Ms. Elizabeth is the only one that can talk for by experience on this. Go ahead, Ms. Elizabeth.
Yeah, that is a good question. From my experience from, undergraduate and graduate now, obviously, I went into the graduate program during the pandemic. So, but just the beauty of having that baseline of coming into the university at Cal State as, undergrad, it really just helped me to do the transition over to the graduate program. The big difference here is that that, just this is going into my second year. But just my first year of what I'm finding out is that during your undergraduate program, there's especially when it comes over using the CSUSM, the Cougar courses, it's there's a lot of variety of courses that you can take. Of course, that it's all meeting your requirements for graduation in your major minor, if you have a minor. But the difference here that I'm finding out is when you're a graduate student is that those courses are given to you. So it's like the cohort is very small, depending on what you're majoring in. But my cohort is a very small cohort. So we're like a very, very small little family. And we kind of run our own little show on the side. So we don't really have counselors like you guys do have. You have your academic counselors, and then here you have EOP. Like, for example, I was a EOP recipient, but now I'm a graduate student. So a lot of these programs apply for undergrad. And so now that I'm a graduate student, so we just sort of stay, since I'm more on the, we stay with our own little family, the sociological practice sort of family, and they provide our own counselors. So some of those counselors are actually one of our professors, staff members, they're faculty members. And so you start seeing that it kind of narrows down a little bit more, and it focuses more on what you want to focus more as a majoring in. And also, I know that Mr. Damon, he graduated as just doing sociological practice as well. And again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but coming back to what you answering that question is that even though there's a difference, but you don't feel alone, through all this process, there's a lot of reinforcement with these faculty members, and just they're letting you know the whole time that they're there with you and they will see you through. And so the support system does not change. The only difference is that caseload is different. There's a lot of reading now, whether, we're doing, I'm not going to kind of go into all the details as all that stuff that comes into play, but the focus is a lot different, and it just teaches you to work more independent, and at the same time work in a big group together. So if I answer any of those answers, if I've touched on that, and maybe Mr. Damon can touch a little bit on that as well.
I think, Elizabeth, I think you did very well. You did very well. One thing I would add is graduate students are expected to maybe contribute more to the learning process, and undergraduates are also expected to contribute to it. But as a graduate student, you would be expected to contribute a little bit more to the learning process. But your response was on point.
Perfect. Yes, great advice, right? I think that goes for both undergrad and grad, but grad, it's more on you. Definitely connect with Elizabeth, Mr. Damon, on your own time once you come in to keep those conversations going. And also one of our recent graduates at the office is Ms. Wendy Martinez. She also recently graduated from SDSU, so she can also definitely share her experience on that and what's the difference. And that's also a great question that you might want to ask to the faculty, right? Once the faculty panel comes on, as they work with both graduates and undergrads. Wendy, anything you would like to add to this question, since you're also recent graduate?
Yeah, I think I just want to add one more thing. I mean, everything everybody has said so far is right on point. The only thing that I do want to mention is that there are graduate programs that are cohort based, and that's the program that I went into. Cohort based is basically like this group of students that pretty much completes the program altogether. So you're going to see these people and these students throughout the whole year or 2 years that you're in this program. I'm not sure if other graduate programs are like that, or if they're pretty much like your undergrad. You see some students one semester, the next time you may not have any classes with them. For the particular program I did, it was cohort. So we created this group chat, and it was a year program. The whole year we were in this chat, checking in with each other, people you didn't even know, and it was online. So even people we didn't see in person, we were able to grow that connection virtually. So again, keep in mind those things, what type of program you're getting into, you want to get into. And then again, it is a lot more focused on what you want to do. So it's very, very focused. Again, you have to really put in the work into it to understand it on your own. It's a lot more reading. I will say no procrastination is allowed here at all. I'll tell you, because I'm probably one of the biggest, but I learned a lot about myself in this program. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Again, I feel like during your graduate, I felt more comfortable reaching out to my professors. During my undergrad, I wasn't. I was the one to just, I'll just figure it out later. I'll ask one of my classmates. But this is really more where you do want to communicate with your professors if you do have any questions. Even your undergrad, start putting that into practice, because they do want to hear from you. They want to get your feedback as well. And they want to know how, maybe you're the student asking the question for 3 others that are too shy to ask. So just those things, put it into practice now. And yeah, I think that's about all.
Excellent. Thank you for adding that in. And I think we'll be talking more about graduate school and one of the later dates, correct, Marilu?
Yes, on day 3, we're going to go into some more details about graduate school, the 101, learning about the experience, and just kind of those next steps that you can put into place in the fall and the spring to get you going on grad school.
Yeah, so definitely mark it down on your calendars. We'll see you that day for more grad school information. Okay, let's go ahead and get going. Group number 6, what is your question that your group came up with?
Hi, good morning. My name is Emily, and a question we came up with was if you were able to describe the work study process, and if you have any tips on what worked for you around how many hours you worked and depending on your schedule. Yeah.
Excellent question. Who would like to go first?
I can go first with that. Well, for me, this is my first semester year doing work study. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest advice I can give you is to try to get a job on campus, just because you learn so much that you didn't realize before. I've been here 6 years and I've learned so much that I haven't known like the past 6 years in like 2 months, it's really amazing. So, but with the hours, it does vary. So depending on the department you work with, but with the ones I've worked with, they're very, very understanding with your work schedule outside or, your course schedule, things like that. And so you can work, 10, 20 hours, things like that. And if you end up getting multiple jobs on campus, they definitely work with your schedule. So I would highly encourage you do that, just because you'll learn, the school better, you'll learn the faculty better, the people you work with, things like that. But for me, I think it was one of the best decisions, and I wish I made it sooner, to be honest. So definitely look on Handshake, and it's very, very easy to use. They'll tell you, again, like the timeline of how long you would be working there, how much you'd be making, and in the description. So definitely take advantage of that. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest advice that I could give everyone.
Perfect. Emily, I want to clarify, are you talking about work study or the time it takes to study and work?
No, Vanessa answered the question really well.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else that does work study?
I can go. I think it is kind of like Vanessa said, it's really helpful to have a job on campus in general. I think it's really easy, especially if you don't have a lot of back and forth, since you're already on campus, you can easily fit it. I shouldn't say easily, but it's a lot easier relatively to fit it around your courses. And they're normally very understanding because, they're on campus, so they know you're a student, they're used to accommodating schedules. So that's really a plus. The only downside is, I feel like generally, at least in my experience, you can only work 10 or 15 hours. So depending on your situation, you might need another job, at least, depending on your situation. But that's just something to keep in mind. But other than that, I think it's definitely an excellent program because you get to be part of the campus and also be right there close to your classes.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sochi.
I didn't I was in a work study program here in Cal State, but before I transferred, I did do it at my community college. And it was a huge benefit because you are there, you're there all day, you're working, and you get to know the professors a lot better. They work around your schedules. And yeah, there you cut out all that driving to and from. When I came to Cal State, I wasn't able to find anything here. As a mother, I needed to work. So, so then I worked closer to home. And yeah, it was always running back and forth. So yeah, I would, if you don't have to work outside of campus, then yeah, I highly suggest it. Totally recommend it. That would be beneficial to you in many ways.
Perfect. Thank you, Xochitl. We're running. I got my 5-minute warning here, so I'm going to go ahead and go really quick with the 3 next groups. So panelists, if you can be kind of brief, or we're just going to go ahead and select one that can answer that question. So let's go ahead and go with group number 3. What's your question?
Hello, my name is Luis, and one of the questions we had was, what resources were given to you or you found that helped you become academically successful?
Excellent question. Who wants to answer that one, panelist, or do I just randomly pick? Elizabeth?
Yeah, so I used the resources that I normally, when I went into the university, I was part of the faculty mentoring program. That was a very huge support system aside, obviously, as you all might know, EOP, but the faculty mentoring program was, we worked very closely with one of the faculty members there on campus. They almost kind of become like, she became like a very close friend to me. At the same rate, they not only just a friend, but you get almost like your counselor, your advisor, just someone, a mentor, that someone is there for you. So that was that. But I also used the writing center a lot. I was always there at the library. And like, again, you guys heard today about those librarians. That's very helpful. Sometimes if I would get stuck with something, I wouldn't walk away not really figuring out the answers, because there was always someone there on campus that was so ready to answer many of my questions. But I used the library a lot. I used those study rooms a lot. The writing center was there, so I used that a lot. The faculty mentoring program was very helpful as well. And obviously seeing your advisor, your counselors there on campus, and then you have the EOP counselors as well. So there's a huge, huge support system right behind you, supporting you and wanting you to succeed.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, there are a lot of resources, so make sure you check in with your EOP counselor to go ahead and provide you with those resources needed for you. We do have a lot of connections, and we do have resources to provide to you on and off campus. So make sure that you check in with your counselor to get any resources that you may need. Okay, group number 5, what's your question?
Good morning, my name's Casella, and our question was, at least one of them, what were some of your favorite clubs that you've joined? And why?
Excellent. Are any of our student panelists joined a student organization?
Psych student org. I know that's specific, so I don't know if there's any psych students here, but psychology student org, they work closely with Psychi, which is the honor society. You don't even have to be a psych major, just if you're interested in psychology. A lot of informational as well as social meetings. So, and even if you're not into psychology, there's other meetings like it on campus. Like, I highly recommend it. Any major that, whatever you're majoring in, check if there's a club related to it, because you can find other people, like-minded people that are going into the same things as you, and it might even help you with networking opportunities. So that's a general tip I have.
Perfect. Thank you, Haley. Excellent question, Casella. Wendy, can you post our student org website? We have over 100 student orgs that you can check it out. And we have our very own at EOP. We have EOPA. So definitely check out our emails for some of that EOP activities and meetings. Group number 4.
Yes, my name is Jennifer, and wow, there was a lot of questions asked, so I kind of had to, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's none. But let's see, I'll keep it real simple. because a lot of the questions we had were already asked. I know you mentioned that on Wednesday, or I mean the third day, it's going to be the more of a graduate information. But one of the questions that we had was, when should we apply for graduate school? And then the second one was, when can we schedule a counseling appointment with the counselor for EOPNS?
Okay, so I can answer the last question really quick. With EOP, you can schedule your appointment now. You should have access to scheduling your appointments now. Both our camp students and our transfer students. If you do not have access, check in with Wendy and we'll go ahead and check that out. But you can schedule appointments now. However, your contract says EOP appointments for contacts, summer appointments will not count for contacts. That does not start till September. And Elizabeth, you want to talk about a little bit about deadlines for graduate school really briefly?
So the deadlines for graduate school, normally, so the way we did it, because like, again, going through doing everything online. So you have to actually check the program that you want to get into. And so that's like one of the most crucial ways of going about it. It's contacting, once you got accepted into it, or if you want to get into the program, inform yourself, reach out to the director who's running that program. And then once that happens is they'll have those deadlines there as whatever, to meet those deadlines, basically, the personal statement, whatever that you need to put in, or the application. Once that happens, they will reach out to you. And then, once they accept you into the program, into the master's program, they will follow up a lot through those emails. They contact you a lot. So it's very important to be checking those emails. They will send a lot of that information as deadlines through those emails. And then from that point forward is a lot of those emails are very informative. And then after that, it just kind of makes that transition over into their portals and whatnot. But it's through, the main thing is that website, checking that website of that major of that, that you're trying to get into. And then the next thing after that is the director of that program that will be contacting you through emails.
Excellent. Thank you, Elizabeth. And check in with your counselors. These are great conversations to have with your EOP counselors. Last but not least, we have group number 8, and we're going to go ahead and close it up with that group.
Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal, and our group came up with a few questions, but sadly, we have not that much time. But what are the benefits of getting involved into student orgs and leadership programs, and will there be any sports events happening this semester?
Any of you, I think, who was in student orgs? Were you, any of you, Haley? Well, Haley said about
her. Oh yeah, benefits, I kind of said, but networking, and also it's just an experience. It makes you feel like, at least for me, in my experience, it makes you feel like you have a community on campus. And also it tends to look good if you put it on a CV or resume. So just to show that you're involved and you didn't like go to campus and go home, basically.
Exactly.
I can say so much more, but I gotta keep it brief. So
thank you, Haley. With that said, I know we're cutting out a little bit on short time. Sometimes we have a lot of time left, but you guys had a lot of questions. Excellent. I'm just gonna point out before I let you go out for a break here, Elizabeth and Vanessa, there are currently some of our student assistants. They are at the front desk. So definitely come in and check in with them. If you have any questions that were not answered, any of that, definitely stop by our office. And also, ladies, I don't know how comfortable you feel in putting in your email or contact information in case some of these students will like to contact you, right, on that one-on-one, and like they kept on saying, networking, right? So definitely, if you feel your question was not answered, thank you, Haley. Go ahead and send them a quick email with your questions, and they can definitely share their experience with you. And then, like I said, Elizabeth and Vanessa will be at the front, so you can come in and check in with them as well. So with that said, thank you very much for your questions. Excellent questions. And I think I am done with my role here, Marilu. What's next?
Hi, Brenda. We will just kick off the faculty panel. So today we have Dr. Clark Ibanez from the sociology department. We have Dr. Sue from the physics department, and we have Dr. Hernandez from the human development department. So I want to welcome all three of you here today. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. Well, let's just keep the ball rolling here. Let's start off with group 8. Are you prepared to ask your question to these wonderful faculty members that have joined us today?
I think we can, yeah. Okay. So what was your motivations to further your education goals and enjoy what you're doing now?
Ooh, good question.
And really quick, if I may interrupt, I don't know if Dr. Clark Ibanez, Dr. Sue, if y'all want to introduce yourselves as well, in terms of, maybe the courses you teach and the departments you're part of, that would be really great.
Yeah, in fact, I think I can do that while answering this question because I think it kind of feeds into it. So, hi, I am Stephen Sue. I am associate professor in the physics department. And why did I become an associate professor in the physics department? I kind of stumbled my way through. So actually, in the beginning, as a high school student, I wanted to be an English major, actually, until I finally had that one good, fantastic high school physics teacher. And so I got into a physics program at the University of Houston. I wasn't quite sure my first year if I really was into it. The class was hard. It was hard to wrap my head around things and thinking about things. But what kind of secured it for me was I was very fortunate. I got to work with a professor in his research laboratory my second year. And that's when I saw what this job, what this career could look like. I said, oh, okay, now I really want to be a physics major. And the job I wanted to do was a research job. I wanted to work in a research lab for the rest of my life. So I was, I did my 4 years at the university. I applied to grad school. Actually, I stayed at the same university for grad school, partially because there was a professor whose work I really, really enjoyed. And that's a big part of it. Doing research, getting into a graduate program that does work that you really enjoy or you're really interested in. And my first year there, like I said, I wanted to be a researcher, but I did not want to be a professor. And my very first year, they asked me if I wanted to teach a class. And I think part of it was a mixture of American and foreign students. And I think a big part of it was me being able to help communicate. So they asked me to teach a class. And by doing so, I discovered that, hey, actually, I kind of like teaching. So that's what put me on the path to be a professor. For those of you in scientific fields, 9 out of 10 times your PhD is free because you'll be working as either a teaching assistant or as a research assistant for a professor. So the things that we do to get into graduate programs at this university is enjoy your classes, talk to your professors, work with your professors, maybe see if there are places to get teaching experience, and that all carries over. So that was, okay. So I graduated high school in 1998. So it took me 4 years undergrad, 6 years at graduate program, which is roughly the national average these days. And then I was very fortunate. I came to Cal State San Marcos in 2008 and was fortunate to start my career. And I've been here ever since. Dr. Clark Ibanez, who I just saw at the panel 10 minutes ago.
Hello. Is Dr. Hernandez here too?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
yes,
okay,
right
cool.
here. Good to see you.
Okay, great. I want to make sure we tend to be on these panels because we're so committed to the students and excited to meet you. So, okay, thank you for passing the ball over to me. Hi, everyone. My name is Marisol Clark Ibanez, and I think I'll take a page of what you just heard and share a little bit that I am your department chair for sociology and criminology and justice studies. So if you are one of those majors, welcome. And you'll hear a lot more from me in our office. I teach, well, I'm not doing a lot of teaching now, but I will once I'm done being chair, but areas of sociology of education and and children's rights, Latinx communities, and methods. So, and very similar to Dr. Sue, I also very much stumbled into being a professor, being what you see before you, 19 years in as a full professor. And I want to say, like, did you say that right? You graduated in 98 high school? Okay, I graduated in 89, people. I'm gonna be 50 this September. And loving every minute of this job for the most part. But I remember clear as day what it was like to start college. And my mom, I was an EOP student myself, as a Latina, as a low income student. I fought my way into college. I was happy to be there. I didn't do so well at first. I went through a lot of different majors, but got a lot. I listened. So here's a little tip. When you hear a professor critique you, okay, learn from it and whatever, carry it with a grain of salt, tell your EOP counselors about it. They'll help you modulate whether you should really take this seriously or just be like, oh no, this is, whatever the comment is. When you hear something positive, absolutely take it in, because the professors who told me, oh, you should think about grad school, or oh, you did really good on this, you did really good on that. As I navigated my way, and things definitely got better in taking upper division classes for me than anything else. I learned to listen to that positive feedback and to really take it seriously and to glom on to those professors who gave me, kind of positive academic feedback, and volunteer, like, can I help with anything? Can I think at one point I translated everything for an international conference into Spanish, which I was like, okay, that's a little bit exploitative, but whatever. I did it. I just wanted to kind of be around those faculty who were supportive. But that doesn't mean I knew what I was doing when I graduated to become this job. In fact, I just wrote down, like, I wanted to maybe be a social worker, an attorney, and I hadn't really thought about research, even though what brought me to being a research person and researcher in a PhD program was the fact I had to ask myself, when do I feel the happiest? Like, when do I feel like really alive? And that is definitely was reading, writing, researching. Like, I just knew that was for me. And even though I was a literature major, ultimately that's what I graduated as. I did take sociology courses. And I kind of connected with professors in Soc who were doing research, and then I got to do research, and it was so exciting. And that's how I got there. But I want to tell you that after I graduated college, I looked in the newspaper, which I know you all know what that is, but back in the day, there were want ads. I don't even know if my university had a full-fledged career center. I don't even know. And I just looked in a job. I worked kind of in the front end of a factory because I spoke Spanish and was helping folks from Tijuana get their computer parts. I mean, what the hell? I just was kind of trying to figure out what to do. But in there, I got to volunteer more. I couldn't really do so much as an undergrad because I always was a resident advisor. I worked for financial aid. I usually worked as a work study student in somewhere else. And I got to know I am not going to be a good social worker. And I didn't really understand what an attorney was. And once I did not want to do that job. And then I just kept working, rollerblading, and then applied to the graduate programs. And from there, I knew that the research job, I didn't know what kind of professor I would be, but I knew it would be there. But it wasn't a straight path. It was not an easy path. It had a lot of fun, but there was also some breaks, like some kind of like undulating path. So even though we may seem polished and excited and engaged and so kind of together in our careers, it wasn't that way back when we started. This is after a long way of working. Rafael, Dr. Hernandez?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right? I want to make sure my mic is okay. All right, cool. It's really an honor to be here. My name is Rafael Hernandez. It's an honor to share the space right here with you all and with my colleagues, Dr. Sue, Dr. Clark Ibanez. I've had the great fortune of being able to work closely with Dr. Clark Ibanez, and I consider her a very important mentor of mine. So to be here speaking with her is an honor. And thank you, Andres Favela, for inviting me here, and thank you all for sharing your time. I went to college at San Diego State University, where I majored in psychology, minored in Spanish. I went to the University of California, Santa Barbara, to get my master's in counseling psychology and a PhD in counseling, clinical, and school psychology. I'm here because I love to teach. I love to work with students. I love to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I love being in a position where I'm regularly interacting with brilliant people, faculty, staff, students, in a place where knowledge production and exploration is, at the forefront of what we do. And I love having that be a part of my work and my daily life. And so I'm fascinated by human development. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Human Development. I teach in the counseling emphasis, and I'm here. In very short, I've been inspired by my mentors and my teachers to push through the struggles that have been an important part of my journey, and pass on what I've learned, and encourage and support the next generations of leaders, of educators, of learners, of change agents, and continue to develop myself in the process. I feel that these are systematic, bi-directional types of processes where we are all teaching and learning from each other. We're all helping each other to develop. We're all cultivating a community that is best for all of us, right? I think that answers the question. I'll go ahead and pass it back over to the moderator for the next one. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Thank you, Dr. Sue, and thank you, Dr. Clark Ibanez. For the students here today, for Group 7, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, my name is Jasmine. Hi. We had a couple, but do you think mental health should be talked about more? That was one of the questions we asked about.
If it's all right with you, I'd love to jump in on that one. I think that's a fantastic question. So thank you for that. Yes. I see in the chat.
Yes.
Dr. Clark Ibanez. Yes, students are knowledge producers and helps us. Oh, okay. Yes, I agree. I thought that was an answer to this question. I was going to jump on that, but I agree with you 100%. And I do believe that we need to talk about mental health a lot more. I think that there is a stigma common in our families, in our communities, in our society in general, that keeps us from talking about mental health and mental illness, and in that way keeps us uninformed and uneducated about the ways that we need to be, on a daily basis, nurturing and caring for our own mental health. And so we become in the dark about how to manage struggles, as if the struggles that we face as individuals are only those that belong to us, right? And not realizing that everyone goes through difficult their own ways. It's said, to be kind to others because you don't know what they're struggling with. You don't know the difficulties that they're facing. Everyone is facing something, even if it doesn't come across, right? I think that with the silence on this topic, it prevents us from being able to be more supportive to each other, to being able to learn from each other how we overcome challenges, but also to be able to understand that taking care of our mental health is deeply integrated with taking care of our physical health, with taking care of our spiritual health, our emotional health, and that these are important pieces of who we are as human beings. taking care of our communities. Many times, what we face when it comes to mental health challenges are not based on deficiencies that we have as an individual, but reflective of symptoms of problems that are happening around us, problems in our society, difficulties that are imposed on us that can sometimes be internalized, and we start blaming ourselves and unable to manage it correctly. So I think that this is very important, and I think that I want to encourage folks to to explore the resources we have here on campus at the Student Health and Counseling Services, Hope and Wellness Center. Reach out to organizations and communities organizations and resources on campus, student orgs and such, mentorship programs, and that can also help us connect to these resources and learn more and be able to speak more freely and understand ourselves a little better.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez.
Yeah, if I may jump in on this one, Dr. Hernandez, thank you. So I'm in the physics department, and most people think, oh, you guys are math people, you're cold and feeling robots or whatever. That's not true, right? We're all people. I was teaching a class, and I had students who started out great in the semester, and then as the semester progressed, the student grades started dropping, wasn't turning things in, and so I went and said, "What's up?" And we talked about it, and he was describing things. I said, "It sounds like you got depression. Like, I'm not a medical expert, but I've seen enough, I heard enough that I think you have depression and you should get that checked out." And the thought didn't even occur to him. And, there's a stigma to these things, right? We don't, sometimes we don't want to admit that we need help, but we're all people, right? So he got checked out, diagnosed, depression. And once he was aware and started taking steps and taking the medical advice to help cope with that, bounced right back. Grades went up, new outlook on life, etc. Okay, so we're all people. And one thing is all the resources the university have, and also your professors, we've worked with a lot of students. And there will be some times where your professors will also be going through things. So I think awareness is a big part of it. And I hope that you see the university as a safe space, not only to explore new ideas and learning, but also to explore it yourselves. And if you feel that you want to learn more about your own mental health, please take the opportunity to do so.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Sue.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm so glad Dr. Hernandez spoke up first. This is obviously his field of study. And I think with knowing all three of us now, you all have a touchstone. I mean, we may not be mentors to you in any formal way, but you know that we care and we've been there. And I wanted to share that as in my role as department chair, I checked in with so many of our majors, and the stress of COVID and the ripple effects in our communities has been like just so significant. And so I think, faculty are also understanding. Faculty are going through their own things. Those of us with young kids at home and trying to do this job and be there for everyone. It's been, you'll see your own professors have waivers in their voice and kind of, we're, as Stephen said, we're people too, but I want to just validate the fact that this is we're actually still in a global pandemic. It's pretty bad out there still. But on a more personal note, when I got to college, that was the first time I did go to, away for college. And I think very much devastated my mom, but oh well, had to get away and start kind of do my own thing. And when I got to college, I finally had space and the moment and the realization of so many childhood trauma, all sorts of things that had gone on with us and through us, whether it was through migration experiences, divorce, other things that my family had gone through. And that is when I started, as a student, I joined a group therapy at my university. And I have to say, I did it, on and off all 4 years, or 4.5, whatever, how long I took. And it was really instrumental. And it was, I think I had faculty counselors who were of color, who were powerful women, and who just helped me. And I think the intellectual part was getting totally shaped, and I was like, oh, I was so into school. But the spiritual part that Dr. Hernandez talked about, and the inner me was still like hot mess. And so that's, I mean, it came out in a lot of ways, and I was like, oh my gosh, I probably my EOP counselor was like, get to therapy, kind of like what Dr. Sue was talking about. And I did. I actually follow, I love good advice, and I usually follow it. But I wanted to share one more little tidbit that to the level that there's an interest, is that this university can also be a very exciting place to then investigate what this phenomenon is. So yes, take care of yourself. But there's a group of students who are part of the Dreamer Resource Office, and with myself and a couple other colleagues, we're doing research on the impact of COVID on undocumented individuals with students who work and are serviced by Dreamer Resource Office. And part of that is the mental health. And so there's so many faculty and staff who are willing to explore and support your kind of intellectual journey, and as well as your personal, that I see the benefit of reading about it and understanding, like, wow, there's these trends and there's all these things. If you're in the space to do such a thing, that's also another possibility. And that's also why your voices are really important in scholarship. And I pointed Dr. Hernandez had a really wonderful way of saying that, how you all are knowledge producers, and you joining the academics academy, your voices are essential for our fields and our understanding to grow and to kind of, as they say, get with the times. And so however you enter that in your classes or in an independent study or research, or just your own kind of self-exploration, that you are needed and you are essential to all of us growing and moving forward.
Thank you very much. I don't see any questions in the chat. For group 6, would you like to ask a question, please?
Hi, yes. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for that. That really motivated me. Also, one question we had was, how did you go about picking the right grad school? And if you have any tips that you wish you knew before you went into grad school that you would like to let us know about?
Ah, good question.
Okay, I guess I'll start. I advise students that when you choose grad school, you're choosing a particular career. So, I mean, get the education you need to get the career that you want. And especially with a PhD, a doctoral degree, the focus is on research. You graduate with your PhD after you essentially write a book on research that you've done. So when you're looking for places, one thing is to look for places that has interesting research, things that you want to be interested in, because the way this works, it's an apprenticeship model. You will have a PhD advisor, you will apprentice yourself, become the Padawan to a professor. And based off of what that professor does, then you will hopefully get to start your career building off of their research program or their guidance. So looking for that is one thing. The other thing is that successful graduate programs are ones where there is strong communication. So as with all things, communication is a big part of it. I've had students that when they apply to graduate schools they visit, they talk not only to professors, but also to the grad students there and try to get a feel like, how supportive of an environment this is. Because not all graduate programs are very supportive. Some are great, some are not so much, depends on the department, et cetera. So looking for something that you can see yourself doing and really want to get into, and then B, a place where you might want to just ask those around there who work there, the grad students there, what type of environment is it? And is it one that you think you could be successful in? I'll leave it to my colleagues.
I can go briefly. I think this is really great advice about the you're not only going into a grad program, really you're looking for some professors to work with. And I wanted to point out to you, if you're transferring now, or if you're starting off as, first year here, that's great. You have more time. But if you're transferring now, your journey to graduate school has already begun. It's begun by figuring out who in the heck can write you letters of recommendation. And for some program, for academic PhD programs, this will definitely be your professors. Definitely. And to just be kind of honest with it, probably PhDs, tenure track professors, professors with an active research agenda. If you're going for, your counseling programs and other maybe master's level, your EOP counselors often serve as very strong letter writers because they know you so well. But it's so important that you start connecting with your professors like ASAP. And not only that, what you read, like this, we always say, like, read, you got to read for your classes. And in our fields of sociology or social sciences broadly, who you read, those are possibly future PhD chairs of yours. And if you haven't hopped on to Google Scholar, and if you haven't created a Google Scholar alert for your favorite authors, for your favorite researchers, do it this fall. Start that immersion into what kind of research, this is for academic or PhD oriented. That's what I know to speak about. What kind of scholars are getting you excited and feel like, oh, it's really cool research. But for any of the programs, one of the things that I advise my own students to do is get into your Google Drive, create a spreadsheet, have like the program, the due dates, call and talk to every single of those people's graduate coordinators. Know them, don't pester them, but know them, ask your essential questions. And so that will help you kind of keep on track because there's different essays that are due. Almost every graduate program you apply to, you need 3 letters of recommendation. And unless they're social service oriented, they're likely your professors. Sometimes they want a boss of yours or supervisor. But I know Dr. Hernandez probably has some thoughts on that type of career track. So I'll hand it over.
Thank you. I just want to emphasize what's been said, what Dr. Clark Ibanez has been saying about starting early and making sure that, you're reaching out and thinking about this early on, and so that you have this on your mind, so that when you see that, there's a grad school fair, okay, let me go there, and I'm gonna go there already, maybe having done some research on some of these schools and some of these areas, already having talked, you wanted to be able to talk to your professors, especially if you're reading something that fascinates you in terms of the topic, the perspective. This is something that you're asking a lot of questions about, and that you can build on that, and maybe talk to your professor about that, who assigned that reading, for example, and see where you could learn more, and when you find, and I again, I'm speaking from kind of an academic standpoint. So like, if you're going to graduate school for an academic route, I would say that a lot of it needs to be driven by what you are fascinated by and passionate about. And something that you keep on asking questions, and the more you learn that you don't know about, and the more that you want to know more about. And these are the kinds of things that drive a research agenda, that drive a career in examining this and contributing to this kind of knowledge. Nonetheless, even for non-academic career paths, it's important to learn about these programs, connect with your professors, connect with other resources on campus that We'll give you more guidance about graduate school early on, so that you are looking ahead for deadlines, being organized and knowing, okay, I got this deadline a few months down, so I want to be able to, start drafting my personal statement, getting some feedback on that, revising, working on my application, knowing what questions I need to ask when I talk to the graduate recruiters or faculty or students in those programs, or maybe even faculty on this campus who've gone through the program. What I can do during office hours to meet with a professor if I want to talk about graduate school. A lot of these things, when you can take advantage of the resources around you after already having done some research on your own, then that helps to build the way that you could take advantage of those resources if you're better prepared rather than having to start from scratch, right? So use those as opportunities to see this as a process where you're building, step by step, things that you learn. Even if you feel, I don't know exactly where, which direction I want to go, start exploring, pick a direction and see where that takes you, get experience, internship experience in that field, research experience, volunteer experience, work experience, get a chance to explore that while you still have some time to try other things, to to make sure that you are planning ahead accordingly.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. So it looks like we have several students have asked questions in the chat, and I want to thank Dr. Clark-Ibanez and Dr. Su for answering those questions. So since those questions in the chat have been answered, I will move on and see if there are any students in groups 1 through 4 that have a question that they want to ask out loud.
Good morning. I'm from group number 1. And some questions that my group came up with were, what is your biggest advice for a transfer student? And what does faculty see as the biggest challenge for a transfer?
Well, I'll start us off. And I think we have, you have within your midst 3 different colleges represented from our campus, right? We're in different majors. But there is a class called the Transfer Success class, just by the way, and Matthew Atherton offers it out of social sciences. But I feel like the biggest strength that I've observed in transfer students is they have already jumped over so many barriers and navigated so much that transfer students typically in any of my social classes are by far the best students. They may not feel the most secure, and that's part of like, oh my God, I'm new. And these other folks have been here, longer, but they're by far the most prepared and the most kind of on track. So I feel like that's an enormous strength for everybody to come kind of realizing you're coming to campus with a lot of your own talents and skills. And then the challenge is not a challenge about you. It's a structural challenge. You have very little time here to meet and connect and do clubs and do everything. And hopefully your EOP counselors don't like kick me out of this meeting, but I'm like, take longer, add a minor, stay if you can longer, because this is an essential time for you to make those bridges. And look, it's like you're coming in to a time when we're kind of still online. It's just a little bit harder. We're not in normal, quote unquote, normal times, academically speaking. So I would say there's an enormous benefit, strength. You've also taken a lot more classes probably within your field, like sociology and criminology and justice studies, we only count like one class that you've taken, to be honest. Like that's what the system does, but you've taken so many. Social family or administration of justice. So you're coming in with a lot. So the issue is make the most kind of count while you're here. And it is like busting down those doors or Zoom walls to connect with students, clubs, and your faculty.
That's all great advice. Stay as long as you need to, but if you're on a short time horizon, go for it. The biggest challenge to me is you come in as juniors and seniors. So that means in 2 years, if all goes well, you're ready to get out there. So the biggest thing is connecting with your faculty. I think that's the biggest challenge. So you come in with the knowledge and background to be juniors and seniors, but you're coming in kind of culturally, you don't know this place yet. So you're kind of like the freshman kind of culturally here. So the first thing you need to do is I need you to have conversations with the faculty in your department and just introduce yourself. They will take very good care of you, right? And because I think all the faculty here, we understand that what it means to be a transfer student, and that, yeah, we have a short time to get you everything that you need, research experience, internship experience, etc.
Yes, I definitely agree with my colleagues, Dr. Sue, Dr. Clark Ibanez, on the importance of making sure you're being intentional and proactive about getting acclimated to this new environment, reaching out and getting to know your professors and moving quickly on that. And I know that that can be daunting, and I think that it can be a challenge, but I really want to encourage everyone to reach out and get to know your professors, even if it's just to stop by and introduce yourself. Just establish that relationship, get that difficult first encounter out of the way, so that when you do need to reach out, you're already reaching out to someone who or who knows you. Your professors can be a great resource with helping you to navigate the class, helping you to navigate the campus, and as Dr. Sue was saying, a new culture of a campus. I really agree with Dr. Clark Ibanez in that, in my experience, my transfer students are among the best students, and I think a lot of that does come from the ability to what you've gained from the additional obstacles of you have to navigate different campuses, different styles of teaching, of different of how the class and the campus environment is working. And I think that for those of us who can do what it takes to rise and meet the challenge, there is so much of a return for that. So I just want to encourage everyone to capitalize on that and see that for all the transfer students, that you're coming to this campus in a position where the obstacles and the challenges are there to help you to grow. So take them on as these are going to put me in a better position, rather than feeling disheartened or discouraged by additional challenges. Yeah, that's about all I could think of at this time.
Well, thank you. That was some powerful information. Makes me want to get back in the classroom. So let's go with, I want to be respectful of your time, but let's go with one more question. So from groups 2 or 3, do you have a question that you want to ask?
We are group 3, and one question that we had was, when it comes to attendance, should students notify the professors that they're going to be there, that they are not going to be present that day, or is it better to just leave it alone?
I'm always a fan of notification. Even if your professors don't take attendance, it's polite, it's respectful, and that's something that we notice. And one thing is, like, when I have to write recommendation letters for someone, one of the first things I do is go back, what emails have I had with that student? So I think we always appreciate that. And also another thing, sometimes you miss class or something happens and you're kind of embarrassed to talk about it, or you don't want to talk about it. But if there's something that can adversely affect your grade in the course, bring it to the professor. I once had some students didn't turn something in. I'm looking, it's like, why you turn something in? Like, oh, I was embarrassed. Like, I had to go to the emergency room for my aunt or something like that. I was like, well, those are reasonable. Life happens, and we get that. So, I'm a bigger fan of letting the professors know, and they will let you know whether or not you have to or you don't have to.
Yeah, I also I think it's important. I think it's a good thing to do. To when my students let me know, I think it communicates several things. One, it communicates that the student cares enough to touch base. That it's not kind of just haphazard or representative of kind of like, I don't really, I'm not really, this class isn't that important to me, or you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that I assume that from folks who don't check in, but I think that when you do check in, it is a positive thing. I don't ask my students to disclose, reasons, unless, as Dr. Sue was saying, unless this could be something that I can help out with, or be able to provide support or suggestions, or connect my student to resources that that might help the student if they're facing something that can adversely impact their engagement or performance in the class. But I would say that in my classes, I do appreciate if a student reaches out, preferably beforehand, but even after, an emergency came up, I couldn't make it to class today, my apologies, or whatever, but I don't necessarily, in my own class, I don't require my students to you have to give me a reason or excuse of why you missed. I trust that, if you had something else that you needed to attend to, in that moment, then I'm going to assume, that it was for a good reason. And but I think that this touching base aspect is an important piece of reinforcing that, and creating and cultivating that that connection with your professor of that you are engaged in the class, that you are doing your best, and if there are issues that come up, that we can be there to support you as professors, that we can support you as students. It's concerning to me when a student just kind of is ghost, and is not able, when they disappear off the map. I'm not sure what's going on. Are they okay? But when you can check in those times, I think there's a lot of positive aspects to that.
I really agree with both my colleagues here. And there's a sociological concept called sympathy credit. And this woman named Candace Clark, no relation to me, studied how people can get like a break on a late paper, a late payment. She studied all sorts of things like grading, banking, all sorts of social environments. And there's a balance, right, to how you ask for someone's grace or sympathy, and you have to bank some good vibes. You have to bank. This is what she found. I'm totally paraphrasing her research here in a very informal way, but building positive, checking in, going to office hours, so that when you do miss and you do need a little bit of wiggle room, then this is a study that's been done over all sorts of interactions, that you have banked sympathy credit. So not like feel sorry for you type of thing, but more like give you a break. And so all these things that you can do so that when you do, or if you ever come into a time when you need you're late or you had to miss something. I think the two pet peeves I've heard from my faculty, they're not necessarily pet peeves of mine, but I want to share with you is don't ask faculty what I miss. Find some friends in class. Make sure you do that. You know, you can say like, well, I've studied this, I've caught up on this. I still need a little bit of information about that. Oh, there was one other pet peeve. Around the missing. I'll write it in the chat if I remember. But I did write in the chat some of the things I noticed students do a little bit of missteps where they'll call their professors Mr. or Mrs. And it's not necessarily a misstep, but it's a signifier. It's like, oh, we're in college now. You address your professor as professor or doctor, right? And no one in this room would be like, oh, there's something like, what's up with the student? Why don't they know that? But I have to be real that there's faculty on campus who would see that and be like, how come I'm being called Mrs. something something? Like I'm a PhD, I'm a professor. So there's little parts of knowledge about interacting and connecting with professors that is helpful that your EOP counselors will know. We will reveal to you. It's just like kind of backstage stuff that's that other students know because they've either grown up around professors or whatever, and they just kind of know and flow into the campus system. And others who this is a new way of connecting, and those things can, you know, kind of tweak relationships or kind of how your professor interact with you. So there's just these little things that can go a long way with your professors to start off on a good foot, I guess, or feet, whatever.
Thank you very much. So looks like John, you have a question for us?
Yeah, sorry. I was from group 2 and my mic was muted when I was speaking, but would you guys say that this same line of communication works for students who are trying to join a class that may be waitlisted? I'm in a phase where most of my courses are all psychology courses since I'm a psychology major. And I noticed that now I'm on the wait list for 3. So would you say that reaching out to professors and letting them know your situation or trying to see if there's any opportunity to get in that class, do you think that kind of communication helps?
Absolutely, and it's the only way. It's the only thing that you can do. So the wait list is the purview of that specific professor. So trying to reach out, and if it's an in-person class, there was a time where students showed up the first week of classes, standing aside the doorway or standing back of class and just hoping that they can get in. We're sorry that you're going through that challenge right now, but yeah, definitely the primary way is to connect with that instructor. And since Dr. Clark Ibanez is in Chabs, is there anything else that
Luckily, I'm like number 3 or 4, so I'm not too
Right.
far on there.
You're not too far, but we're in a crazy enrollment situation on this campus where even a 3 may or may not get bumped through. The waiting list is kind of a revolving thing. I'm going to put in the chat what I literally, what is your name? John? I sent something to our Soc and CJS majors about like, what do I do on a wait list? What classes are open? What do I do? That message, I'm going to cut and paste and put it in a document in the chat. And so that explains to you more about the wait list. At least, I mean, like Dr. Sue is saying, there's just a thing. It's under the purview of the faculty, and most faculty are not over enrolling. There are some that do, and that's through a permission number. So I'll put that in there if it's helpful. I know you said you're in psychology. They might do things slightly differently, but I'm happy for you to look at that context. It kind of spells it out in one kind of paragraph blurb.
Okay, thank you.
And we're also dealing with classroom size restrictions. So if it's in person, there are some classes where I normally take in a few from the wait list, but I'm not permitted to due to COVID protocols. So it's a really tough situation.
Yeah, I think all that's been really good advice, and what Dr. Clark Ibanez is sharing. I'm looking forward to also checking that out. I think that should be very informative. I want to encourage you to not skip. Well, I want to encourage everyone, right, to reach out to your professors, but don't not get on the wait list. That at least in our department, we encourage our students to get on the wait list as well, because in certain classes, if the wait list gets long enough, then we have then we have evidence to show that we need to open up another section, and then so I would say get on the wait list. Also reach out to the professor. Sometimes professors are, I think typically the professors will go in the order, but then also, if you have like graduating seniors, you have certain circumstances where certain students would have certain priority. That's also a way, if you have limited seats, that you can accommodate all the students on the wait list. But I think it does help to reach out to the professor, explain the situation, but also do the wait list as well.
Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Mary Lou Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you so much again, Dr. Clark Ibanez, Dr. Sue, Dr. Hernandez. Just great information. Students, can we please give them a virtual round of applause? And also I don't know that all of our panelists are still here from student panelists, but let's just give them a virtual round of applause. We hope that you took, 1, 2, 3, many things away from today's session as we, focused on, again, those transitional topics. We hope that you enjoyed today's session, and we hope that you will return in the coming days to continue to learn and plan for your following semesters. And all right, I think that does it all. Thank you again to all of our presenters, to our panelists, and our students, our staff who were here to support us today. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. I will hang on for just a few seconds in case any students do have any questions, but if you do have to leave, you are more than welcome to do so.
Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.